All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order on Monday, March 6, 2023, and ask you if you would all please rise and join the village board in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Trustee Scaletta.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
Trustee Grasse. Trustee Canty.
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Bertucci.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we have three sets to approve tonight. The first is from the committee of the whole meeting from February 13, 2023. Are there any changes or passes?
Pass.
Move approval?
All right, passed by trustee Scaletta.
Second.
Motion by trustee LaBedz, seconded by trustee Tinaglia. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from February 21st, 2023. Any changes or passes?
Pass.
Passed by trustee Canty, trustee Schwingbeck, trustee Baldino.
Move approval. Second.
Move approval by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, the minutes from our village board meeting from that same evening, February 21st, 2023. Same passes, trustee Canty, trustee Baldino, and trustee Schwingbeck. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll move on to the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on trustee Bertucci.
I'll move approval for the warrant register dated 2/28/2023 in the amount of $4,103,707.77.
Second.
Motion by trustee Bertucci, second by trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Bertucci.
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. There are no recognitions or presentations tonight, so we'll move on to citizens to be heard. And I do have three blue cards from individuals who wish to address the board on items not on the agenda. And so, again, you're all reminded of the 3-minute time limit. And the first individual to be heard is Donald Mearsman. And in the middle, there you go.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to express my opinion. Thanks to the village board and the mayor for all your good work. Arlington Heights is a first-class municipality because of your leadership. It is unfair for anyone to cast aspersions on your veracity or impugn your motives concerning the redevelopment of the racetrack. I believe you all have the best interests of Arlington Heights at heart. I appreciate your efforts and I respect your opinions, and because of that, I have a suggestion for you to consider. Please share your opinions with your fellow taxpayers on this question. Is the proposed State Bill 1350 in the best interest of Arlington Heights? We know that the mega project Pilot Bill 1350 will not be voted up or down by this board. I respectfully request your input on a complex tax policy that will impact Arlington Heights taxpayers for 40 years. I'm not being coy. I'm not trying to set you up for trouble. I speak only for myself. You've done a great job so far, and I request your perspective on a complicated issue. My personal opinion is that SB 1350 is a stinker. I contacted Senator Gillespie's office and told her and requested a meeting so my neighbors and I could discuss it with her. I just received the biannual love note that I've been getting from the tax man for 42 years. I respectfully request your leadership on tax policy for the next 40 years, although I probably won't be around for that long. Thank you very much. See you next month.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mearsman. And let me just say, in response to your question, I don't think we're at a point where we can really comment on it, because even Senator Gillespie when she introduced the bill, made a point of saying that she knows it's not in its final form, that she introduced the bill in order to generate discussion and to move it forward into a place where perhaps a vote could potentially be taken. And so I don't feel at this point that we can really comment on it because we know it's not in its final form, and it's, again, something that we're not going to vote on. It's in the hands of the state legislators. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Mearsman. All right, next is Keith Moons. Keith?
Thank you, President Hayes. President Hayes, I would feel somewhat negligent if I didn't report back to you the result of the ballot survey to install a traffic safety measure along Cleveland Avenue. By the way, that ballot survey counted a no response. If someone did not send their survey ballot back in, it was a no vote against the measure. That heavily biased this measure to fail, and it was mailed to some Cleveland Avenue residents. To no one's surprise, the measure failed because this is an unfair voting procedure, and it's set up to eventually fail that way. I'm confident that everyone here tonight can understand that by counting a no response as a no vote heavily biases these measures to fail. Apparently, village staff is now in control of our speed policy, not the residents or the Board of Trustees. Also, staff contends that there is no speed risk on Cleveland and probably not on any other neighborhood street as well. However, their conclusions have been based upon what I would consider faulty methodology in assessing the true speeding risk on streets and as a yet to be identified industry speed threshold standards. Finally, President Hayes, if neighborhood balloting is going to determine safety investment on our streets against speeding, please direct the staff to at least use a fair and unbiased voting procedure that does not count a no response as a negative vote, even if this is the way we have always done it. So thank you, and I wanted to just leave a copy of the letter we received summarizing the results with you, and you can maybe answer some of the annotated questions that we have on there.
Okay, why don't you give it to the clerk if you would?
Okay, thank you.
All right, next we have one other blue card, and that's from Donald Vicelli.
Good evening. My name is Don Vicelli. I'm a longtime resident of Arlington Heights, 43 years, and I live in the Scarsdale neighborhood just down the road from Village Hall. I retired as a senior marketing professional and spend much of my time now on environmental issues, trying to make people aware of the challenges of climate change and possible solutions. I am a member of the Climate Reality Project Chicago Metro chapter and was trained as a CRP leader in 2020. This worldwide volunteer organization focuses on mitigating climate change and its effects on all of us. To that end, I serve on 7 volunteer committees, one of which is the Suburban Climate Action Plan Committee that tries to convince local communities, such as Arlington Heights, to develop a climate action plan that will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions to meet IPCC net zero emission goals by 2050. This will help mitigate the extreme weather-related events we are now facing due to climate change and its global warming effects. The Environmental Commission recently presented to the mayor and the village board the results of the 2022 resident survey. This survey is available on Arlington Heights website for all to see. Based on the results of the survey, the Environmental Commission encourages the village to, and I quote, 1, direct Village of Arlington Heights staff to develop and publish a sustainability plan for the Village of Arlington Heights in alignment with the 49 goals of the Greenest Region Compact. 2, stipulate that the Village of Arlington Heights Sustainability Plan should prioritize setting goals which best address the concerns of residents as expressed in the 2022 Environmental Commission survey, unquote. I strongly concur with the Environmental Commission's suggestions and recommendations to the Village Board. There are many reasons why the village needs to develop a climate action plan to help mitigate the effects of climate change. The most important reasons are to reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions the village produces each year and transition to 100% clean, renewable energy sources as quickly as possible. Human-generated greenhouse gas emissions are the primary driver of climate change. The greatest opportunities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions come from electrifying transportation, optimizing building energy stretch codes, and enacting clean, renewable energy policies. The most important long-range goal, according to the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, CMAP, is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 80% by 2050. Our region emissions decreased an average of 1% annually between 2010 and 2019. Achieving this goal will require a reduction of roughly 5% each year through 2050, according to CMAP. But we need to do much more. Developing and implementing a climate action plan for our community will help the village achieve our regional, state, and U.S. goals by 2050.
Mr. Vasselli, if you could wrap it up, please.
We don't have time to wait any longer. I urge the village board to move forward on environmental commission recommendations. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you, sir. Melissa?
Melissa Kerr speaking. Will you change the chicken ordinance to let residents keep live chickens on their property?
Well, I know some other communities are doing that. There's nothing before us at this point, and I don't know that we have discussed this in the past, and the majority of the board has not been in favor of it. It's not to say we can't take it up again, but I know other communities are looking at that as well.
Okay, and also about the development of the international race course, people aren't going to be truthful about everything they're doing. I tell you about Rupert Murdoch in the late 80s, the media mogul. He built a whole new publishing facility in England under the nose of the old workers. So something like that is bound to happen at Arlington International Racecourse.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Anybody else in the audience wish to address the board on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, then I'll close the citizens to be heard portion of the agenda. Move on to old business, of which there is none. And so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Any members of the board wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the audience wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the board wish to vote no or pass on any items on the consent agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee Bertucci. Roll call.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci,
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Moving on then to new business, and we do have 3 items to consider tonight. The first 2 are the last 2 of the 6 District 25 elementary school expansions to accommodate full-day kindergarten in Arlington Heights. And so we very much appreciate your presentations to this point. These are the final 2 out of 6, and so please, we got Ryan here again tonight, and so I know he's very well versed in this, and we look forward to his presentations on both Greenbrier School, located at 2330 North Verde Drive, and Windsor School, located at 1315 East Minor. First, Greenbrier.
Good evening. Again, I am Ryan Schultz, Director of Facilities Management for Arlington Heights School District 25. Again, here to present 2 projects tonight related to the full-day kindergarten expansion that was approved via referendum recently in the Arlington Heights community. Again, just want to point you out to these are our guiding principles on what we were using to guide our process for going with full-day kindergarten. And again, just pointing out the topics that we discussed when we went through referendum on why we were supportive of a full-day kindergarten program here in Arlington Heights. Why is an addition required at Greenbrier? Again, it's primarily driven by the full-day kindergarten enrollment that will be coming to the school, again, based on the number of sections that the school will need going forward into the future. So we're looking to add 2 additional classrooms at this location, and also taking into account a slight enrollment increase in the next 5 years. Again, primarily driven by full-day kindergarten, but slightly with the enrollment of the neighborhood as well for this location. Just a background of where we came through the process. Again, we had the neighborhood meeting late last year where no members attended from the neighborhood community. We had the conceptual design review where we had unanimous support. Design commission was on February 28th where, again, we had unanimous approval of the project. The plan commission hearing was also had where we had unanimous approval. So we're here tonight to go through with the Board of Trustees and talk about the 2 additional classrooms that we're looking to construct at Greenbrier. Looking at the requested action for this evening, there are 2 variations that are being requested. Again, I won't go through all of these, but just here for reference, we are seeking a variation for parking on this site, and I'll go through that further in detail in the next couple slides. But again, this building has a smaller enrollment. It has an early childhood program that, again, is a half day in the morning and half day in the afternoon. So there's a large amount of staff that flow in and out of this building throughout the day. So you'll see later on that this parking lot is underutilized throughout the day just based on how our staff use it. Again, our staff enrollment that we includes everybody as one whole group. So it looks like everybody's there at once, when in fact we have custodians at night and staff that are flowing between buildings. And I'll try to demonstrate that, excuse me, a little bit later on. And we're also requesting a small variation with a portion of the building where it overextends the front setback by a ½ foot, and I'll point out that location as well. Just pointing you down to the lower portion of the site in the red box, that's where the addition will be constructed. It's connecting an addition that was done in 2018, a 2-story addition that was done then, and it'll close off the courtyard area and make a new courtyard and tie back to more of an original portion of the building that was done in the 1960s. So again, the light yellow box within that red dashed area is where the addition is going to be going. Again, this is a single-story addition with 2 classrooms and a corridor. The addition will be constructed to be able to accept additional classrooms in the future if they're needed. So an additional 2 classrooms could be constructed on the 2nd story if they are needed into the future. Again, we don't have any anticipation that that is needed anytime in the near future. But again, just setting the building up since we are starting to run out of actual square footage and space on this site on where we could put additional spaces. Also want to point out the parking lots that, again, we're talking about with the variations. There are some existing permeable pavers on the west parking lot that I pointed out there. And then we're looking to install some permeable pavers in the east parking lot as well to help out with some stormwater quality control in that location. And the final point I want to point out is the slight setback that we're overextending. Again, it's really the eaves of the building that are overextending the setback requirement. So it's a minor variation. The existing building is in that condition, so we're looking to carry that facade over into the new addition portion. Just a floor plan of the addition, again, showing the orange areas with the green corridors. 2 new classrooms in similar size and scope to our existing classrooms. Again, these are not dedicated to kindergarten, but really just to help with general enrollment at the facility so the school can shuffle the classrooms around where they see best fit in the future. So for the 24-25 school year, we anticipate there will be some movements of existing classrooms on where they'll be located in the school. Again, this is just to help out with enrollment at the facility and also give us some buffer space for programs and services that are offered at the school. Again, the facade and the general site constraints, we're trying to stay within the kind of general footprint of the existing building, and will again provide us some flow on that side of the building by able to loop off the building and provide more of a continuous flow on that side of the building. This is a rendering of the proposed addition. Again, inside the red box is the addition, so we're carrying through a lot of the design cues that are existing. Again, the 2-story addition in the back was done in around 2018, and then the addition over on the right side of the page, not in the red box, was in the 1960s. So again, we had a prime opportunity here to just carry that facade over with the limestone, the brick, the window massing. All of that is very just carrying that design element through to make it look continuous and look fit for that area. Again, just showing the elevations in 2D format. The top elevation, excuse me, will be minimally seen from the parking lot. So again, that will not be overly exposed. The one in the middle, again, is the southern exposure. That'll be connected to the existing elevation from the 1960s. And then the elevation on the bottom is, again, interior to the courtyard, so it will only be seen by occupants in the building. Talking through enrollment, we do anticipate some enrollment growth at the school, and again, it's primarily driven by the full-day kindergarten program. We anticipate that we'll see more kindergarten students now that full-day kindergarten is implemented, getting closer to our first grade typical enrollment. So we will see a jump in enrollment at that facility based on that. For staffing, we're only looking to increase by 2 just to support the full-day kindergarten sections that we see being increased. And again, the chart on the right side is just showing the classroom sections. Currently, we have 24 classrooms in the blue bar. We're anticipating to go up to 26 classrooms. And then you can see our anticipated usage is pretty flat at this school. Considering the enrollment boundaries of the school, it's very residential, and then there's not a lot of turnover in that area that makes that number change a lot. So we're anticipating that 23 classrooms will use for EC through 5th grade in that location. Just getting into traffic and parking. Again, we reviewed this site again in 2018. We implemented some minor changes to traffic flow in that location to make it flow a little bit better, but giving you an idea of the parking lots and the capacities. Currently, we have a total of 75 parking spots on site in both the west lot and the east lot, where the village requirement right now is 86 parking spaces. Again, we have a large influx of people throughout the day that, again, are not always overlapping. So again, a portion may be there for 2 hours for a couple days a week, and they're not always there. Or they may be there in the morning and flow to another school because there are not enough sections of a certain element that they're getting that school services. So again, we see that there's not a need for additional parking on the site right now, just based on the current capacities and how that we've done the survey, the numbers that we've seen in these lots. So I will go into that a little bit further. Again, this school has heavy taxi service as well because for students for the EC program come throughout the district. So we have a large capacity of taxi service at this school, and we do have one bus as well that services the building. Just giving a snapshot, this was again from our aerial footage. I'll show the video, but just to give you an idea of how much open parking there is. Again, this was at 3:30. This is again a typical day in September. There's a large number of parking spots open, and again, this is the time of the day where we would expect staff still at the building. The kids are not released, so this is a time that we would expect to have almost maximum capacity of cars in the parking lots. And again, you can also see the cars starting to queue up in the lots as well. But again, we do see capacity that's available through numerous different ways, doing our parking surveys and traffic counts for the site, that there is capacity left in the parking lot. Just another snapshot, again, from actually from a satellite image showing from May 13th of 2021, there's a large capacity of parking spots open. The one on the east side, again, it's just a little ghosted. That lot is not completely empty. It's maybe 60% full. Just the way the satellite image came across, it doesn't show all the vehicles clearly, but there are a number of spots still open in that lot as well. Going through the video for arrival, this is our typical traffic flow on the main parking lot, the drop-off and pickup lot. We currently do have a right in, right out only out of this parking lot, so cars are supposed to go to the right when they leave. We see pretty good adherence of that, but we do have the occasional offender where they will go to the left. You will notice that. We, again, see pretty good continuity with that, and Commissioner Green actually goes to the school quite a bit often, and he has commended us on the traffic flow and says it works very well. So he's a regular at that school with his grandchildren and commended us on the flow of this as well. Again, we communicate that regularly, that you should go to the right. Now, as you see that it's getting closer to the start of school, you'll see even more people go to the left. But again, relatively low enrollment at this school, so we have not been seeing major traffic issues at that intersection, which we're trying to keep people away from. For traffic departure, the red lines, again, we're heavy queuing, that we know cars are really stacking up and queuing. I did include one with the dashed area there. We do see some pretty regular queuing in that location, but it's more sporadic, but it is a known area that cars queue up. And then the yellow areas, again, are lighter areas where we see cars queuing up at this location, where, again, they're waiting to pick up their students at the end of the day. Again, this is the afternoon departure now from the aerial footage, showing the cars starting to stack up in the west parking lot, the main back parking lot of the school. Again, school gets out at about 3:35, and you'll see, again, around 3:42, 3:43, the parking lots and the streets are relatively cleared up. So just want to give you an overview of the general flow of traffic in that location and the time constraints that are adhered to with that site. Showing vehicle stacking, this one site in particular is a little unique that we do have a large area of street queuing that we can have that's on our side of the street, and again, we're the only occupant on that side with the Park District. So there is an opportunity for a long extended queuing on the street if we would need to, if we'd ever need to adjust the queuing on the site. We could try to take advantage of that a little bit more, but in general, we do have a number of spots that we can queue on site with 15 in the back parking lot and 10 in the front parking lot, and again, just showing some of the queuing spots on the street that are the temporary queuing for when vehicles go in to pick up their students. Stormwater, this site, we do anticipate that we will have an adequate amount of stormwater availability through an area that we already have a license with the Park District. Again, this is back towards Greenbrier Park to the northwest of the site. That's where our detention currently is detained. Is sized appropriately to accept this addition. We've done the calculations. Again, we're going to accommodate a little bit more through the permeable pavers that we're going to put on the east side of that one parking lot, so we're looking to improve that slightly. But again, we do believe that we've calculated this out appropriately and had engineering staff review this as well, where that area is adequately sized. In addition to the other items, again, the items we've been talking about with all our schools, for sustainability, we're doing LED lighting, high efficiency HVAC, low flow plumbing fixtures. We still have an adequate space of green space. We do have a large ridership of bikes and walking, and then we're also exploring, again, solar at this site as well, in addition to all of our other sites in District 25 for our board to review. And with that, I will be open to any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Mr. Schultz.
Thanks.
I'm going to go first to our staff, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you. Very thorough presentation, so I'll be super quick, just go over the highlights. So the school district is requesting an amendment to the special use that the village approved in 2017, and a couple of small variations, one for parking and one for the eve encroachment that was described. Our primary focus was to look at the traffic and parking in this area. That's always the challenge with the schools. For the most part, our observations were consistent with the school district. There are some available parking spaces throughout the day. We did observe as high as occupancy around 91%, still leaving 5 or 6 spaces available. At other times, there were more spaces available than that. We also did observe some double stacking on a couple of occasions on Roanoke, where vehicles were waiting to queue up into the pickup and drop-off lane in the evening, and then others trying to come around and kind of scoot in. So that is something that would just have to be monitored. It wasn't anything that any of the departments felt needed any radical changes to the traffic flow at this time. Very quickly, both staff and the Plan Commission do recommend approval. We are adding these conditions. The first one, consistent with the other schools. Their traffic study did analyze a capacity of 406 students, but with the added classrooms, it could go beyond that. So this condition, number one, has the school district working with the village. If their enrollment is projected to increase above that 406, or it does, that they address any issues or come up with a plan to implement to the satisfaction of the village. And if administrative approval can be granted, then it would. If there was a disagreement, then they would need to seek an amendment to the special use, and this is consistent with the other 4 schools that you've heard. In addition to that, the second condition, continuing to work with the village and neighbors if there are any other small issues that come up, which the school district does throughout the year anyway. Detention, a standard condition relative to just making sure our engineering department gets the additional calculations and, on the stormwater detention. The engineering division has to sign off on that application before it goes to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. They did go to the Design Commission and received a recommendation on the exterior design as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Perkins. Questions, Trustee Canty?
I want to thank you, Ryan, for your presentation. I'm very excited to see this come to fruition. I'm glad. I know it took quite some time to get to this point, so I'm really glad to see us here. And I am absolutely ready to make a motion at the appropriate time to approve this.
Anybody else? Trustee LaBedz?
Thank you. Thank you also for your presentation. I did see was concerned about the one picture that had the double stacking, where you had the yellow and the red cars, because I worry about small children running in between cars. And even though Commissioner Green did say, and I saw it in the minutes, that things work very well, I still worry about that. So this kind of leads me to my question. The early childhood program is dismissed sooner. How are those children walked to the vehicles, or?
Yes, generally. So that's the cars, again, kids are not getting out on the street there. They're not getting into their car on the street. The cars are coming around to pull into the parking lot and they get walked out further down. You could see the large sidewalk that leads out to the parking lot. That's where kids get let in. So again, the EC parents are trying to sneak around, get up into the parking queue, and then pick up their students up in the parking lot. But yes, generally they are walked out to the curb there in the parking lot.
So that's what is causing the double stacking problem, that parents of the older children are getting there early.
That's what we believe,
And-
correct.
Okay. All right. I just wanted an explanation, so thank you.
Any other? Trustee Scaletta.
So you have a right in, right out
Yes.
at that intersection, and I did review the minutes of the meeting where that was discussed. So how do you communicate that it's right in, right out?
Yeah, that goes out to our parents. There's a detailed map on all that, so that it goes out. It's on the website as well, on that school website. So occasionally that will go in the school newsletter or some other communication from the school to keep communicating that. Again, the most time we see it is when parents know that the parking lot's starting to clean out, and then that's when they start violating it. When we start early on, people follow it very well early in the process, and at the end, when they see it later, that's when it starts to get violated, in our opinion.
So on the ground, physically, how is that communicated?
On the ground, we have staff out on site. Again, we don't have a person out there at that corner in particular. We can start looking at something like that. Again, it's a very tough location to enforce because it turns into a village street where we don't have jurisdiction then. So we can have somebody talk to them more often or document people turning the wrong way, repeat offenders, and trying to have them contacted more.
How about a sign?
We do have a sign. There is a sign on that location, on the stop sign there, when you come out of our parking lot. We have a right turn only, and it has the hours that it's an adherence for.
Okay, I didn't see it in your, in the video that you showed us. I didn't see any sign, so that's.
Yeah, there's a stop sign as you leave that west parking lot, and
Okay.
just underneath it's a restriction sign saying right turn only during these hours.
Okay. And Charles, the last line of number 1 says if administrative approval is not granted, an amendment to the special use permit will be required, and that means that it comes back before the village board, right?
That's correct.
Okay, we're all clear on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I have no other questions.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, great presentation. I believe this was the 5th.
Yes, fifth.
I didn't see it in any of our notes, but can you go back in your presentation? You showed a chart where it looked like you had the classrooms. I think you had 24, and then you went up to, was it 26? Right there.
Correct.
What is, okay, so currently the classrooms available are 24. You're projecting, what is the 23? Are you projecting that
So that is what we're.
go back down again?
So again, 24 is the physical classrooms we have available at the school.
Right.
The 26 is what we'll go up to after construction.
Right.
The 23 is what we anticipate to be used for EC through 5th grade. So we will have a couple classrooms open, that looks like it's open, but again, they're used for services and support services at the school. And will also give us some capacity in the future if an enrollment spike would happen, that we could absorb that into classroom spaces. So again, those classrooms won't be sitting empty by any means. They'll be used for support services and breakout services at this school, and they're really needed in particular because we do have the EC program here at this location.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, Trustee Canty.
I move, I'm trying to get this one right. So I move to approve Planning Commission number 22-020, stop me if I'm doing this wrong, right? To amend SUP ordinance number 17-035 to allow a building addition consistent with the recommendations of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion by trustee Canty, seconded by
Wait,
trustee
I
Scaletta.
was looking at Hearts and
And Mayor, I would say the motion, there are also two variations, and want to just clarify that the motion includes approval of variations and subject to the conditions set forth in the staff report.
yes, it is exactly that, subject to the variations and the recommendations.
Okay.
Second, and another way to say I concur with the Plan Commission recommendation.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations on number 5. And number 6 is Windsor School.
Yes, again, Windsor Elementary School, driven primarily, again, by the full-day kindergarten program that will be coming to Arlington Heights. Looking to expand by 2 classrooms as well at this site to support the full-day kindergarten program and the enrollment needs of the school going into the future. So again, we're looking to add 2 classrooms kind of in a similar fashion to Greenbrier, where we're adding them to the end of an addition that was done in 2017 and then tying it off to an addition that was done in the 1960s. Again, just want to give you a little bit of information on the process that we went through. We did have 2 neighbors attend to this school meeting. The primary questions were, what is the construction site logistics going to look like? We're getting through that right now, what we're starting to look like on what the logistics for the site will look like for construction. And then the other question was, is the addition going to be 2 stories? The addition at this time is not going to be 2 stories, but again, similar to Greenbrier, it will be able to accept an addition in the future if it is needed. Again, just pointing out all the other approvals were unanimous, and just want to give you a little bit more information through the presentation here tonight. The only requested action that we're seeking tonight is the amendment to the special use permit for the ordinance that went into place in 2017. We don't have any variations that are requested at this time, so the addition is meeting all the setbacks, stormwater, and all the other parking requirements that are needed for the village. Wanted to give a slight overview of the site. Again, the addition is within the red box. We will be including some new foundation plantings. We're having this addition constructed on the inside towards the courtyard side, so the 2 classrooms will be constructed on the inside of a corridor, where we will have opportunity in the future to build 2 more classrooms on the first floor, and then addition 4 more classrooms could go up on the second floor if we went there. Again, just setting the building up for the future. If anything else is needed at this site, it works out great in that location where we are allowed to give some flow to that side of the building as well. Also want to point out, we did major improvements to the site in 2017 for traffic from the parking lot side on the west-northwest corner. And then we also added carriage walks extensively along Windsor Drive to allow students to be let in and out of their cars along Windsor to allow continuous traffic flow. So again, we worked through that really hard in 2017, did a lot of extensive meetings in that one. So it's been working really well that we have a lot of capacity for vehicle traffic, drop off and pick up in both the lot and on Windsor Drive. Giving an overview of the classrooms, again, the 2 classrooms are in orange, the green is the new corridor. So we will be extending the corridor through and connecting to the building, so we'll be impacting 2 classrooms in the existing building to make the corridor extend through. So again, just providing good flow to the building. The new addition that was done in 2017 is on the bottom of the page, and that's where we're going to connect into, and then tying the addition up towards the north into an addition, again, that was done in the 1960s. Here's a rendering showing the connection between, again, on the left side of the page is the 2017 edition showing the red brick with the light tan brick, and then the new addition will be in the middle, that primarily with the red box will primarily be corridors there in that location. So the windows you see there are not into classroom spaces, that is the corridor, and the classrooms will sit on the back side. Again, an addition could be put on this side of the plan at some point into the future with 2 classrooms, and then also the second story could also be constructed on the building as well. Showing the elevation, again, just from the east elevation is the primary view that people will see from Windsor Drive, so that is the 1-story addition that we're putting on, and then the other elevation is the west elevation inside the courtyard, so again, only seen by building occupants is the west elevation where the classrooms will sit. Going through enrollment and staffing of this school, again, we do see a slight enrollment increase at this school, primarily driven by the kindergarten enrollment that we expect to come. And again, we're anticipating 2 additional staff at this facility for the full-day kindergarten program. We're going to be going from 32 to 34 classrooms, and then we see an enrollment or a need of 30 to 29. We do have special support services at this facility so that's why we have a little bit bigger gap that we need some more space in this facility to support the district-wide program that is housed at this location. So that's why the 34 to 30 or 29 gap exists for the number of years coming out, is that we need that space for support services at the school. For traffic and parking, as I talked about earlier, we addressed a lot of these items, the bigger ticket items. In 2017, we do have a large parking lot with 101 parking spaces that is on site. In addition to the work that we did on Windsor Drive for the carriage walks. So parking here, again, per calculation is close. We have 101 parking spots on site where we need 100. So again, we do meet the needs and the requirements of the village. We do not have any buses at this location due to the general neighborhood environment of the school, but we do have a number of taxis for students that are serviced throughout the district that come to Windsor Elementary School. Showing the general parking lot, just showing the flow in the west parking lot location and how cars can flow through this location. Right now, we are using this probably under capacity, so we can actually have more cars flow in here. It's primarily based on location of where parents are coming from, so that's the parents that come into this parking lot right now is north and west of the school, whereas people east and south come from over onto Windsor Drive. So again, this lot has extra capacity if we needed to put more people in there if we start seeing concerns on the street drop-off areas. So we do have extensive capacity in this location to extend that and make that even more capacity for drop-off. For departure, showing the queuing locations, again, right now in that west slide, I'm trying to show that we don't see continuous queuing. We see in the red area, the yellow is kind of intermittent, where it's just at certain points where that queuing kind of builds up. And then the red locations on Windsor Drive are where parents primarily queue up before the dismissal time, waiting for their students along the curb and the carriage walks in those locations. We do see some cars north on Windsor Drive and east on Minor, and then we do see some cars on the north side of Minor Street, but there's a mix of some residential parking in that location and probably some of our parents. It looks primarily from our observations that's primarily residential residents parking on that side, but we can't diminish if there's a few cars that might be from the school population that would queue up there and park there and wait. Showing the departure, again, showing them where the cars would queue up on the west parking lot, waiting for their students out of the main entrance areas. Again, the students are out at about 3:35. You can see some of the cars pulling up, and some students get out early just based on their needs. So as you can see, similar to all of our other schools, around 3:40 or so, the majority of the traffic is out of the parking lot and the street traffic is cleared up as well. Just showing this again, this is high speed, so it's not normal speed by any means. I sped it up to move it along. First, we're moving on Minor to the east, and then we'll be turning on to Windsor heading south. So you can see here, once we turn the corner, the extensive queuing for parents. And as we get to the end of the queue, I'll point out the end of our property, which is right there. So there's approximately 2 cars that are kind of just extended a little bit beyond our property line in that location. We do see a few cars on that side street in this location. Occasionally, there may be 2 or 3 cars queued up in this side street because it's advantageous for them to walk to or get to a different location. Showing the vehicle stacking, again, in the west lot is 20 vehicles that can queue up in that location. And on the street on Windsor Drive, 23 vehicles, and then several vehicles, 7, up on Minor Street that can queue up and turn down to Windsor Drive as well on our side of the street. For stormwater, we have an extensive underground stormwater detention facility that was put in 2017, so kind of shaded in the blue box that is underground. We put that in on purpose so that it could be usable for the community, for the soccer fields, and the other activities that we have in the area. So again, there's a large underground storm trap in that location. The calculations do allow us to go into that trap again. It's oversized, so we are allowing our water to go in there for the addition, so we don't need any other variations or requirements for that. We will be seeking the permitting, appropriate permitting from the village and MWRD for using that as the detention for the projects. And similar to other projects, we are looking for kind of the same sustainability features with this project as well. So thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you. This one's seems a lot easier compared to a few years ago when traffic and pickup and drop-off was a big challenge. The improvements made to the site seem to be working really well. There are no variations being requested. It's just an amendment to that special use that they received in 1990 and then in 2017. We did observe in our analysis some on-street parking, primarily associated to Minor School, we think, on Dryden, south of Minor, and then on both sides of Minor, in front of Minor School there. There is a land bank parking requirement in the 2017 approval that still is in place and will still be the potential to be activated upon, and that's for an additional 19 spaces if it's determined necessary, just west of the Windsor School parking lot. The current parking lot does, as I mentioned, meet the minimum requirements. We have suggested that they restripe the ADA spaces. The state code now allows for a different configuration, still maintaining the same number, but the school district could pick up an additional 2 parking spaces. They're always a premium, so we recommend restriping that, but we're not recommending, increasing the impervious surface or adding any parking at this time. Similar conditions to the other schools, just checks and balances to make sure that the community has the opportunity to make sure that any issues that might arise in the future can get addressed. And then both staff and the Plan Commission recommend to the board approval of this request as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Perkins. Any questions from the board? Trustee Scaletta.
So I would just say that, we just reviewed Windsor a few years ago, and it was so nice to see that everything that we put our hope and faith in has kind of come to reality. And so thank you. It gives me more promise to vote on this, just because everything that we did in the past that you said that you would do, you did, and it's running the way it's supposed to. So thank you.
Anybody else? Trustee Baldino.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just start out by saying I'm supportive of this recommendation from the Plan Commission. However, I'm taking issue with, if you can go back to the slide that shows where the queuing happens on the street. Unfortunately, not only did both my kids go to Windsor, but you can see my house from the aerial photographs here. Go back one.
This one, Trustee Baldino?
That'll work. Okay. Those yellow lines there, those are not intermittent. It is better. I will say absolutely it is better after the improvements that we did in 2017. But not only is the yellow line on Windsor should be a red line, it goes around the corner onto Eastman. Okay? So see where the box that says primarily residential parking, that's Eastman. The line goes around that corner, and that's where I live. It is better, and if you're telling us that the west parking lot is underutilized, use it, please, because I see this daily, and there's double parking, and there's kids running out, and it is, like I said, it's better, but it makes me nervous. I avoid this intersection like the plague when school's either coming in or dropping off. Just wanted to point that out. As I said, I'm supportive of this plan. I think this is great. I like the presentation, but I think we need to take a little bit closer look at the parking queuing. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Anything from the audience on this one? Seeing none, what's the will of the board?
I would move approval to concur with the Plan Commission recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Scaletta, second by Trustee Canty. Any further questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that's 6 for 6, so congratulations. I wish you the best of luck in the construction and also with the remainder of the school year. So thank you for all you do in District 25 for our kids.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right, we have one other item on the new business agenda, and that is the Consumer Credit Union request for a sign variation located at 950 East Rand Road. Petitioners present, come forward if you would. Just introduce yourself and tell us what you're looking to do here.
Hi, my name is Crystal Hollowell. I'm an architect with Shive Hattery. I've been working for about the past year or more with Consumers Credit Union here in Arlington Heights to design their new branch bank location in South Point Shopping Center, right off of Rand Road. And more recently, we've been working on a design for a ground sign to be located along Rand Road for the building. The ground sign that is designed is complementary in materials and appearance to the main bank building, which is currently under construction and is set to be complete in the next month. The scale of the sign is actually a little bit smaller than some of the other signs that are located along Rand Road. That's done intentionally. Because the new bank building is a ground-up structure and not a renovation of one of the existing tenant spaces within the shopping center, we feel like it's within reason to request another look at the variation to allow a ground sign in this particular location. There's also a precedent for something similar to what we're requesting. If you go just southeast along Rand Road, there are other commercial properties that are very similar in size and address Rand Road that have both a wall sign on the property and a ground sign on the property. We feel like that's a precedent that should be taken into account when considering this variation. We've also had a good relationship with working with the village up to this point with the construction of the new credit union building, and we'd like to continue that with the construction of a new ground sign. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thanks, Ms. Hallowell. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you. Firstly, the specific request is to a variation from Chapter 30 for the sign code to allow 8 signs where only 7 ground signs are allowed. So back in 1989, when the center was being developed, there was a variation to allow 6 ground signs when only 5 were allowed. And then earlier in 2022, and an amendment earlier this year, or last year, late last year, I should say, At Home requested a variation to increase that for their ground sign. Now, At Home was occupying a 100,000 square foot vacant shopping center, and they were proposing a new driveway into the site from Rand Road. So this particular site has a lot of signage around the perimeter of the property. So there are 3 monument signs that are multi-tenant. So this is an example of the 3. There's one at this location at the entrance on Rand Road. There's one at Jane and Rand Road, and then there's one up at Palatine Road. Our understanding is that the credit union is allowed signage on 2 of those 3 multi-tenant signs. And then the other signage that we have around here is the Olive Garden and Chili's both have a ground sign. This multi-tenant building here does not have a ground sign. They're reliant on the multi-tenant sign. The village board just approved this sign here for At Home. And again, with the entrance coming into the site, it's right next to the entrance and a major anchor tenant. So the proposal is to put the Consumers Credit Union about 180 feet from the At Home sign and only a few hundred feet from the multi-tenant sign. We feel that there is ample opportunity for visibility for the property. They will have a wall sign that faces Rand Road. If I can get the mouse to work here, so there'll be a wall sign at this location facing Rand Road and a wall sign at this location facing southeast towards Jane. There'll also be, we haven't seen their signage packet, but probably, signage on the canopy for the drive-throughs and the ATMs, and probably directional signage as well. We don't feel this the tenant is an impulse purchase type business, like a fast casual dining restaurant. This is the sign that faces Rand Road. This kind of shows the visibility under the canopy of the trees. These trees are quite large, would not block the visibility of the signage on the building. So staff recommended denial of the request to the Design Commission. The Design Commission talked about it, and they recommended approval with a vote of 3-1, 3 votes in favor and 1 against. And so it comes to you with the Design Commission recommendation to approve.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Perkins. Unfortunately, this is one where I'm going to have to disagree with staff on. I understand and concur with the Design Commission recommendation. I understand the staff's concern about sign blight, but to me, sign blight means basically ugly signs. And this is not in any way, shape, or form an ugly sign. And so I think we need to do all we can to encourage people to come to this site. I'm so happy to see development there, construction there, after so many years of inactivity. And so I am all for this very nice-looking sign to continue to encourage people to come to this location in our village. Any other comments from the board? Trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor Hayes. And I agree with you 1,000% on that. And I just have to ask, though, what are we going to say then to the little strip mall building that is just a little further west down there that doesn't have a ground sign? I think you mentioned it there. I just drove by today. I was doing something over that way in the afternoon, and I noticed they were building the at-home sign. They're putting stones on it right now, and it looks going to look very nice. And they're so in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be a good-looking, modern, sharp-looking building. It'll probably, as Charles had already said, a lot of signage on it. I'm wondering if you're not jumping the gun a little bit. Is it possible that you could save yourself $10,000 or $15,000, or maybe it's more? Do you know what the sign's going to cost to build? It's probably at least $15,000, right? $25,000, right? Would it behoove you guys to wait and see what kind of signage happens from your actual building that's going to be, 25 or 30 feet tall in some areas maybe, or 20 anyway, and save the money and then come back if you want it? I mean, I would be in favor of giving you this sign. I'm saying that right now. I would vote in favor with the mayor. I just don't know if you need it yet. And then the combination of what happens later when the other buildings all want them too. So that's my question. It's a question more than a comment. That's it.
Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you. So I ran for election in 2007 because I wanted to make sure that businesses had the signs that they needed. One of the reasons. I'm looking at this going, if you don't think that people can see the sign on your building, then why are you putting the sign on the building?
It's kind of more of a last chance for people. If you're driving down Rand Road, and I know a lot of times when I drive down that way, I'll completely miss the Jane Avenue turn, because that sign I feel like is difficult to see, and the placement of the sign that we're allowed per the lease is not ideal. I think it gets blocked if there's a vehicle sitting at Jane Avenue getting ready to turn onto Rand Road. That new drive entrance that At Home is planning for the entrance off of Rand Road is really like your last chance to turn in there. Otherwise, you have to go all the way up to the next light. And having a sign at that location right before that turn just makes it a little bit more convenient for people to not completely pass it by if they're looking for it. They have that visibility closer to Rand Road also, with the sign being closer to the road than the building sign would be.
So if they're going north, if they're going east or west?
If they're going west. So if they've passed Jane Avenue,
Right.
And they missed the multi-tenant sign,
Right.
they have a chance, they'll see the ground sign off of Rand Road and then be able to turn in immediately after where the new at-home sign would be into the parking lot to get to consumers.
So they've passed your first sign.
They've passed the multi-tenant.
building,
Yeah,
and they're going to know that you're there because they see this next sign.
that is the idea, yes.
Okay. But you're not getting businesses, or you're not getting customers because of your signage, right?
They would be members, right.
So they would have it on their Waze or their maps or,
Right.
okay. All right. I completely agree with Trustee Tinaglia. I think that maybe you're jumping the gun. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to have in your back pocket, but you might want to wait and see how things play out before you start spending $25,000 to put in a sign that we don't know is 100% necessary. I want to make sure everybody knows where your business is.
Sure.
But it sounds like, you know, it sounds like you guys have a lot of signs. And signage is always good. But let me ask Charles a question. Charles, how can we not have their entire sign program before they're applying for a variation?
Not all. We don't always get. We don't know what additional signage they're going to propose on the canopy for the drive-through or the directional signs. They haven't submitted, to my knowledge, their full sign permit application.
The wall signs, I believe, are about to be submitted for approval for permit. For the lane signage, I do know that they'll have a open or closed sign over, there's 2 drive lanes for the ITMs that are there, the canopy off to the side. So there's just a open, closed sign on the canopy there. For directional signage, I don't have a lot of information on that. I don't believe we have additional directional signs as part of the project.
So
I'm not being sarcastic, but aren't you doing the sign plan?
As far as our involvement in it, we don't have any additional directional signs. I could say that for sure.
Are there 2 companies doing the sign program?
No, not to my knowledge. I don't think so. There's no one else, right? Okay. Huh?
Yes, please.
Sure.
I'm Joe Belisario. I'm with Consumers. I'm a staff architect.
Fantastic. So tell us about your sign package overall, what you've applied for and what you haven't.
I believe we just went in for permit this week for the building signage. That would be 2 signs, the one you see there, and a smaller one that you can see there, the code-compliant wall signs. So this would be our 3rd sign.
Okay. And then you have no other signs on the property? No enter, no exit, no ITM, which is new to me, but I thought it was ATM, but anyway.
Yeah, nobody knows what an ITM is. It's an ATM with a video teller.
All right.
No, honestly, we haven't had that discussion yet about directional signage. I don't think we're going to need any. Typically, we might have an entry sign with our logo on there. That would be about it. You know, your 18 by 24 type of sign, but I don't think we're going to need something like that. So directional sign, I don't think so.
So no canopy signs?
Canopies will just be, open, closed indicators. They'll be automatic and they'll say ATM open, closed, or video teller open, closed.
Okay. I want everyone to know that you're there. It's just interesting that you're going to put a sign on the building that you think that nobody can see, so you're asking for a ground sign.
Well, we think with the traffic and the angles of people approaching, it's an effective wayfinder for people. They might not, because the building is parallel to Rand, they might not get that in their line of sight, where the ground sign being perpendicular is a better cue for traffic coming in and out. That's our thinking.
I want you to be successful.
Besides, other people have ground signs and building signs all over the place up and
They're-
down Rand.
Yeah, every piece of property in the village is individual and unique, so trying to use precedent doesn't really work for me, as you might understand.
I appreciate that.
Okay. And so I'm just telling you that while I'm going to agree with the motion that I think will be coming, I also agree with Trustee Tinaglia that you guys might be one step ahead of where you need to be and in trying to make sure that you don't oversign this property. You want to be a great member of the community, and you want everyone to know that you're there. but your customers, and maybe I'll be one, are going to be using their phones to find you, not necessarily the signage.
I promise you I will bring that commentary back to our executives. But since we're here, perhaps we'd get it approved and
I hear you.
we may or may not build it.
I hear you. But I want you to explain to them that we expect you to be a good member of the community and think this through.
I understand what you're saying.
And not have them, as you're talking, they're just like, looking around. Thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Bertucci.
Hi, I agree with Crystal and this gentleman and Tom. My office is directly, kitty corner from you. I'm in the Centrum Plaza, and I drive this often, up and down. First of all, I don't think that there's a lot of overdone signage on Rand Road there. I agree that as you drive along Rand Road, especially at 35 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, that you can often miss those. One of the reasons why South Point had so much problems is because it's a neck twister to see what is there while you go west. And it's not the easiest to see as you come east. Charles, in Town and Country, both AT&T have double signage on their building and a ground sign, correct? I'm not gonna bait you.
Yeah.
They do, and
AT&T, I think they have.
I just drove past there after lunch.
Wall sign on Rand, and then they have a grand sign, and that's a separate ownership and separate property from Town and Country.
Okay, that's fine. But they have a sign on the front, they have a sign on the side, and they have a monument sign.
Correct.
And then what's the Verizon? Verizon has the same thing. They have a sign in the front, they have a sign on the side of the building, and they have a monument sign.
That's correct. Verizon has, I think, 3 wall signs the board approved as a variation.
Yeah. So to Crystal's point, now that's north and west. Now, Crystal, you were mentioning there were some more that were south and east. So there is a precedence, and I think that, to me, I think that there is something to be said about the precedence. And if you are coming northwest on Rand Road and you do miss Jane Avenue because you haven't hit the building yet, and then you realize that you should have went in there as you're seeing the building, if you don't catch it and you don't catch the new entrance, you're going to go all the way up to the light by Chili's and then have to come back and back around, which is not the end of the world. But to your point, you're going to have people braking and possibly causing oops, wait a minute, kind of a situation, even if they have their phone. That's going to be a little bit of a concern for me as people are braking and trying to figure out, did I just pass the building and now where can I get in? So I am very much in favor, as Tom had mentioned also, in the approval of this variation. And I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. If you think it's the right thing to do now and at least get the approval for now, I definitely agree with going for it. So that's my thoughts.
All right, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. Just my only additional comment is I really don't think that lighted intersection where Chili's is that far to go if you happen to pass the other entrances. And, I think that most people who would be your regular customers would be able to handle that sort of thing without, some without too many oopses, because they'll be familiar with the area. So that's just my comment about that part of it. And I can see, I too want you to be as successful as possible. And so, I tend to lean in favor of additional signs. And I realize that, and I'm only going to look at it at this particular project and not, in my mind, think of it, well, just because I said yes to this, I'm going to say yes to somebody else, which is not your concern, but, you know, I'm not looking at this as creating a precedent or considering the other approvals as a precedent. So that's my comments.
Trustee Canty.
So I tend to agree with Trustee Tinaglia. I haven't heard a motion made tonight, and I don't intend to make one myself. I want you to be successful. It feels a little bit like you're not even quite certain about this particular sign. It feels a little ambivalent, like maybe this is part of just a general package for all consumer credit unions. Am I right on that?
Certainly, all of our other branches do involve a monument-type sign.
Okay.
So yes, it is.
Okay. So and that's
To an
and that's
extent.
fine, right? Consistency is good, branding is good, making sure all of those
Yes,
things,
and-
right? That's helpful. I just want to make sure that we're talking about that, and because it's part of a consistent branding mechanism rather than true wayfinding or a thought that people won't be able to figure out how to
it's-
get to where you are.
Right.
It is
It's-
part of
it
an overall
certainly-
package.
It certainly is part of our branding and part of our package, absolutely.
Okay, so that actually helps me a little bit more because I'm not really buying that people can't find you when you have a big sign on the side of the building. It's going to be a new structure and there hasn't been one before, right? So, but to hear you say, listen, to be consistent across all of our branches, that is helpful to us. It's part of who we are and part of what we look for and what our customers look for. That is helpful to me as part of this conversation, just putting it all out there. So thank you for that.
Anybody else on the board? Trustee Scaletta.
So the only thing I wanted to mention was that I think that the difference between the other locations that were referenced with AT&T and Verizon is that this petitioner also has signage on two multi-tenant ground signs, which is a little bit different. I'm going to make the motion to concur with the Design Commission recommendation. Let me stop there.
I'll second it with a comment.
Okay.
Motion by Trustee Scaletta, seconded by Trustee Tinaglia.
Like you made your comment first. Go ahead.
So my comment is just to be aware that I believe this is a different type of a situation than would exist or that does exist for the medium-sized multi-tenant building just further west that has, what kind of stores are in that building, Charles?
There's some optical store, there's a T-Mobile, used to be a Subway, I don't know
There
whether
was
it's
a
still
Subway, I know,
there.
I used to go there occasionally.
There's probably 6 or 8 small tenants in that multi-tenant building.
Yeah. So this is a substantial investment in this shopping center. This building, it's a great looking building. It's a point that I think the fact that this kind of opportunity is happening, I'm totally on board to make it the best that it can be. And if this monument sign is going to help with their branding and make it work even better, I'm all for it. I just don't want it to be used against me when I say to someone later that, you know, it's not the same as the other building down the block somewhere. Okay? So I just want that on the record. That's all.
Trustee Scaletta.
So I concur with your comments. We want you to be successful. We're happy that you're in this location. I think that it's going to be great for all. I think people are going to find you. If you need to have the sign, you need to have the sign. But I would ask that you go back and at least discuss it, whether you install. How long is this good for, Charles?
I don't think there's a typical time limit on a sign variation.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that the permit is where it starts with the clock starts ticking. So you have this. It's nice to have. If you don't need to use it, you don't have to use it. We want you to be successful there. I think that there's going to be a lot of traffic coming to you and to at home. And so wish you the very best and look forward to your grand opening.
I very much appreciate your commentary.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Anybody else on the board or in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, good luck to you.
Thank you all.
There is no other new business, so we'll move on then to the report of the village manager. Mr. Eckles, anything?
I did have one item. If folks at home, if you have a teen who's looking for part-time work, or if you are a teen who's looking for part-time work, or an internship or volunteer opportunities, the teen job fair is tomorrow evening from 6 to 7:30 at the Arc Center. And that's put on by both our Youth Commission and the Arlington Heights Park District. And just wanted to plug that event.
Thanks, Mr. Eckles. Trustee Scaletta.
And if you're at home and you're hungry, we're in the middle of Restaurant Week. So there's 16 Arlington Heights restaurants that are putting on specials for Restaurant Week. So hopefully you'll go out and enjoy one of the fine establishments we have in the village of Arlington Heights.
Thank you, Trustee Scaletta. Anybody else on the board? If nothing further, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Baldino, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all for joining us this evening.